Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Badass Business Introvert interview series. I am here today with Katie Rasoul. Did I say it right? I know you just told me.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay. Seriously, I have this thing where I ask how to say someone's last name, and then a second later, I'm like, crap, I forgot. So sadly, I do that a lot, so I wanted to make sure. But for those of you guys that don't know, Katie, she is a speaker, an author, and a coach of leaders who are outliers. She works with leaders who have the quiet strength of introverts or the hidden curse of success that holds them back from even higher levels. She believes that high-achieving introverts are way too awesome to be playing small, meant for bigger things than a slow death by conference calls. She has rewritten her own definition of success by leaving corporate HR roles to start her own company, Team Awesome, and create work that alters the course of the world for the better. I really love the part of the slow death by conference calls because it's coming up to my 1-year anniversary of leaving my full-time job. And that was one of my biggest pet peeves. I'm like, wow, I just sat through another meeting that could have been an email.
And as particularly for introverts, I think because it's like an hour-long small talk session or just meaningless things, you're just like, please let me go.
Right?
My soul's fine. Yeah.
Yes. Oh my gosh, it's awful. It's kind of like torture for some of those meetings. So yes, I love that part because it's like I can still kind of relate to that. I think it's like mentally a little there still. So we want to dig right in today because that's what we're here for. We are here to go and dig deep into the high-achieving introvert and what that really means. So let's start with that right away. Katie, how do you define high-achieving introvert, and how does it differ from simply being one part or the other?
Yeah, well, something that people don't normally put together. And so we think about high achievers, and if you picture someone, you probably are picturing someone who looks pretty extroverted. Or looking at introverts and you just assume that we don't have some big dreams. And so putting those two ideas together seems a little bit counterintuitive, but I figured this out about myself when I had this drive. It's this drive to achieve. We have big dreams. And then at the same time, it can feel really overwhelming or feel really unnatural when you're trying to achieve all these things. But you still need this time to yourself, or this time to reflect. Feels kind of counterintuitive to this need to do things all of the time. And so I figured this out because, I've always identified as a high achiever. I've realized that about myself. And more recently, I've figured out that I'm very much an introvert, on some level, the highly sensitive person spectrum. And so when I started to put those things together, I realized I would read more about introverts. I would read more about, different platforms that talk about introversion and how that shows up. But then when we would get to the career part or like the big dreams part, it felt really flat for me. I was like, yeah, but it's not about like, how do I survive a meeting? At the time was the vice president of HR at a company. So I'm like, can we talk about something more like that? Like I have all these big things going on. It felt really as if some of the big dreams or some of the goals just didn't align. And so that high achieving introvert idea came up for me. And then I started to look through things with that lens, and it really opened up this new portal for me and how I live my life and how I do my work, especially now that I'm an entrepreneur.
That's awesome. I love the term high achieving introvert. It just kind of feels more powerful, I feel, for me at least, because it's something people don't associate, I guess, with the term introvert if they're not knowledgeable on what it's actually like to be an introvert or what introverts are actually capable of, like you said. So I love the kind of term that you've, I guess, kind of coined. Maybe you should just trademark it. I don't know if you've done that yet. So how has rewriting your definition of success changed how you live and lead?
Yeah, as this high achieving person, I would go towards these definitions of success, like a promotion or bigger jobs or just straight A's in school, even as a student when I was younger. And All of those things felt really good because it feels good to achieve things. But I realized as I got further along in my career that a lot of us feel like, wow, I did all of these things, and why don't I feel more fulfilled? Or why don't I feel more excited about this? And it was really hard to celebrate some of the things that I did, even though they felt like they should be a big accomplishment. And part of my journey and it really learning more about myself as my own business owner, this really came up a lot. And I started to feel like, what is it that I actually want success to look like? And it was the hardest question for me to answer. I was going through just a really challenging time. This was last year. And was trying to think about, why does this feel wrong? Why doesn't this quite feel aligned yet? And I started to think about the definition of success, because that was a question I had asked myself, but I just couldn't answer it. So instead of it being about achievement, about the outcome, I started to look at things as, if I were to redefine success, it would be about creating something that alters the world for the better, which means everything that I do, if I'm going to go towards that goal, has to be a little different. And all of a sudden it started to feel like the things that I was doing, how I spent my time, and working towards that goal felt bigger and better and more fulfilling than just sort of getting to the end of some accomplishment that is what society always told me we should be working towards. And it just changed everything. It changed how I spend my day, it changed how I lead, how I live my life, how I look at things within my business. You know, if I'm going after that definition of success instead of just, gaining a new client or achieving some sort of short-term outcome, I ask myself that a lot. Like, am I doing things today that are working towards that new definition of success? No, then stop. Like, slash and burn the schedule, get rid of it. And it's really helped me realign so that I feel like I'm spending my time in the most meaningful things, which is the whole point. I mean, when you run your own business, it should feel that way. And so it's been wonderful to be able to make that shift in my own life.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. I know when I was first starting in business too, it was really hard to answer that question. What is success for me personally, for you personally, because it's so different for everyone. And we've kind of grown up with this definition of what success should be, and that we need to get the fancy job with the good insurance and all of this. And so it's really hard when you're just sitting down and you're trying to define success for yourself. So that's awesome that you have like such a clear focus. And I really hope that helps inspire some other people to take that time, because it is a challenge to try and come up with what your own personal definition of success is. So that is awesome. So how does running your own business color your views on failure and success?
Yeah, I mean, it's been the biggest changes when I was working for a company and had company objectives, or you had a boss that had some objectives for you to hit. There was always some level of direction, which is great. I'm someone who I've learned this about myself over the course of time, that I don't really like to take direction from other people. Mm-hmm. Like, I like to set the course and then go get it done. And luckily I had some bosses that were really that type of leader that just kind of let me do my thing. But what I realized is that when I started my own business, all of a sudden, I didn't have anyone that was sort of telling me that things were, yep, this is great, this is good enough. And I had this drive to keep doing more all of the time. So when I was my own business owner, I didn't have the ceiling to kind of hold me back and say, that was good enough, now move on. And that was an adjustment that I had to really learn. And so now, as an entrepreneur and as a business owner, I've really had to figure out for myself, where do I listen to my intuition? Where do I make sure that I'm really dialing into what's right and what's true for me versus what someone else might have said before? Because otherwise I could just keep going and going and going and wear myself dead. because I would just like have this, like, it has to be better. It has to be perfect. It needs to, I could do more about this. And so it's really had to help me kind of rein it in a little bit, and do less things and play bigger. Like I really focused on doing only things that bring me joy and feel really exciting. And that's a few big things instead of doing a lot of small, busy work all of the time. Like I'm doing things to keep my business running, but none of them feel fulfilling. So it's this idea as an entrepreneur now of doing less stuff, but playing bigger.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know that is really challenging. It's like, because there's all this stuff you can fill your time with as an entrepreneur. I mean, there's all these little tasks that you can do, but are they really the ones that are moving your business forward? So that's awesome. That's, that's something that took me a while to get used to, I know. And, sometimes I still catch myself doing some of those little things instead of pushing myself to play bigger. So that's awesome to hear that someone else has, had to kind of evaluate that as well.
Yeah, like, could I hire or should I hire someone to do this? Yes, like I can hire someone to do this so I can focus my time on the things that I really want to do, that bring me joy, that are the big hell yes moments for me, instead of like, oh, I have more, marketing emails to send out or something. So I've really tried to look at, like, how do I only focus on the things that I really need to spend my time on to maximize that and to be able to play bigger. Because some of those things are important to running a business as entrepreneurs, but do I have to do them, or could it be best served if someone else helps me with that?
Yep, absolutely. That evaluation and that outsourcing level that you get to is just kind of like, it's a challenge, at least for me. It was like, can I really have someone else do this? Is that okay? It's freeing once you start doing it and you're like, cool, I can focus on the stuff that I'm best at, that's, making the biggest impact in people's lives. And so that's always the most rewarding when you get to that level as well.
Exactly.
So, sorry. So as a coach, how do you help coach high achievers and other successful leaders to lead even bigger lives?
Yeah, I think that where I see a lot of my clients, when I do particularly individual coaching or coaching within organizations, I often coach high potential leaders who are going to be moving up in the organization. And where I see this theme repeat is one that I experienced, was that there is this whole nother level of potential that, because these people are great and they're successful and they're high achievers, they've always been good at everything that they did. And so just sort of stopped at this level of success that they experienced, when they could do bigger, better things and feel more fulfilled with that, versus where they sort of topped out at just because they realized they were great. So helping them start to figure out, where can you play bigger? And I don't mean like add stuff to your plate. Like, we're all super busy. And it's about, like, what are the right things? What do you take off? What do you not need to do? Because it frees you up to play bigger, to do more successful things that also feel more fulfilling to you. And so it's helping people really tap into, what do you really want to do and how can you be great at that? Because these are generally people who are wildly successful, and in everything that they touch turns to gold. But it could be platinum and feel so much more exciting for them personally if they just knew and started to tap into some of these higher levels. So it's just unlocking a few doors. As a coach, it's my job to ask questions, say, what is it that you really want to do? What scares you about that? How do we get there? And then it unlocks those doors, and my clients still have to walk through it and still have to do the work. But all of a sudden it creates this place of possibility and makes them feel like not only successful, but feel like this is fun and easy and fulfilling, rather than just a lot of hard work. So it's unlocking that potential for a whole nother level that successful people tend to stop short of, because they don't even realize it.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. And so you have written a book called Hidden Brilliance. Do you want to talk to us a little bit about that, what it's about, where we can get it, any and all of that information?
Yeah, so the book actually came out of, if we back up a little bit to last year, I did a TEDx talk in September of last year, and that all came out of really this kind of internal crisis I was having as a high achieving introvert, now running her own business. And I just had some moment where I was kind of freaking out for a second. And that's what the TED Talk was about, was basically talking about my personal story, but how I realized I was a high achieving introvert and what that meant and what that experience was like, even from early on in my life, that I started to really reflect back on. So the book Hidden Brilliance is an expansion of that TED Talk. I realized that there was more learning to do for myself than is going to fit in an 18-minute TED Talk. And I decided to write the book. So the book is part story and part kind of defining what that feels like to be a high achieving introvert and how that has played out, not just as a younger person, going through school or growing up, but how it has played out in my career, some of the ways that shows up. And for someone who is a high achieving introvert in particular, when you read the book, I think that you'll feel some really, really fine nuances of like, yes, that is totally something that I experienced in my life and never really could put words to it. So that's the first part of the book, is talking about the story. And the second half talks about some of the actual activities that I did with myself to move forward in new awareness or living differently. And so the person reading the book can go from point A to point B and reapply some of those activities in their own experience to have their own new awarenesses. So you learn a little bit about the story and then a lot about just moving forward in your own experience and in your own life. So it's a ton of fun. It's kind of part story, part doing the work.
That's awesome. That sounds like an amazing book. I'm definitely going to have to check it out. Is it available on your website, on Amazon? Where can we find it?
Yeah, you can find it on Amazon, and it's in ebook. It is paperback as well as hardcover, but it just is launching this week. So we're a couple days into the book launch. And so as part of that, you can get the ebook for free right now for a couple more days. So if you haven't downloaded it yet, you can go download it for free. Even if you're going to get an extra copy later, because some people are hard copy people, you can still download it and have a look right now attached the ebook that's about redefining success. So there's some great activities that are free as part of that ebook right now that you can get just by downloading it. And it is a great opportunity to ask yourself some of the tough questions about how do you define success? What does that mean for you? Mm-hmm. And can help take you through that journey on redefining success for yourself.
Perfect. So when we're done, when this live is done, I'm totally going to go find the book on Amazon. I'll drop the link below so everyone can find it. And then you have that redefining success add-on too, which is really exciting. I think that'll be really impactful, especially for people who haven't taken that time to figure out what success is for them, because that is just such a deep within kind of thing to realize. So that's really exciting. And what a great offer for that free redefining success add-on there with the book. And congrats on your book launch going on right now too. I didn't realize it had just come out. So that's really exciting. All right. Oh, I think you might be frozen on my end. Hopefully you can hear me. Are you still there, Katie?
Yeah, I'm still here. I'm still here. Can you see me?
Yes, okay. Now I can see the book too. Awesome.
But we just came out this week, so it's fresh on the charts and it's hitting some Amazon bestseller lists already, which is really exciting.
That is so exciting. I know that's like on my list for down the road, nowhere near ready to do that, but to write a book. And so it's always fun to see people in the different stages of their book launch and where they're at and all those successes that they're having as well. So I really hope that keeps building and the momentum keeps building with it. And like I said, I'm going to go find that link. I'm writing it down because I'll forget by the time I'm done. And post it in so that we can get more people's eyeballs on your book and get them to order that, because you guys won't want to miss this. The book sounds amazing. I know I'm going to be checking it out myself. Any other tidbits for us today, Katie?
Yeah, I think your network and your community will love this book. I think it's going to speak to people because it is sort of a niche discussion, but redefining success has been a big part of it. There's also some really fun activities in the book. In the back half that are some ways to do things like focus on the hell yes, focus on big things versus a bunch of small things. I talk about staying true or being friends with your inner child. So remembering what it felt like when you were doing things and you were in flow and it felt really awesome for you. For me, that was a lot of things as a kid. There's also, some ways that you can find some of these topics. I have a podcast called the Life and Leadership Podcast. And so there's some episodes out there that talk about the TED Talk as well as the book. If anyone's interested in some other free content, that's available out there now as well.
Awesome. That's exciting. You've got all sorts of stuff going on, a podcast, a book, all your coaching, crazy busy.
All good things. It's been really fun.
Awesome. That is amazing. So I have one more question before we're probably wrapping it up for today. So how has being an introvert benefited you in your business?
Yeah, I think, I've come to terms with the fact that I really believe it to be a superpower. And I know that there's been a lot more visibility around introversion and people starting to understand that about themselves, myself included. I didn't realize that several years ago. And how it's helped my business has really been understanding my strengths, understanding what works really well for me, and then really building my business around that. I focus a lot around content and sharing ideas, and those are things that feel really comfortable for me, but it also speaks to other people. And so I really believe that energy attracts like energy. And so I think that showing up authentically and being able to run my business in a way that feels really authentic to me is a great way to attract other people who are looking for that same thing. So it's brought to me the most beautiful clients, lovely people who we kind of get each other, whether it's coaching or really heart-centered businesses, because I work a lot with corporations. It has benefited my business because it has brought people to me that are looking for my type of work. And it's so fun. It is just the most rewarding people, the most rewarding work. And that's a really good reminder of why I'm doing this in the first place. So it feels like a great way to run my own business because it is so fun all the time with the people that it has brought into my life.
That's awesome. That's always good when you know that you have that feeling and it's just like, yes, this is what I was meant to do. So thank you so much, Katie, for joining us today for the Badass Business Introvert interview series. It was great to have you on here. Everyone be sure to check out the comments below. By the time you're watching this part, I am sure the link will already be down there. I will have already posted it and it'll be pinned to the top. So be on the lookout for that to go check out her book. Otherwise, that is all we have for today. Thank you again for coming on and for watching, and we will see you next time. Bye.